Hey guys, before we get started with the Ganyu video, I just wanted to mention that I think some point in the video I mentioned cryo damage being able to buff other units. Um, I actually remembered after I made the video that if a character doesn't deal cryo damage, then they don't get that buff at all. So yeah, just ignore that. Basically, that cryo buff is really good for everybody else, and that's basically it. But I still stand on the point that Ganyu is a support DPS, and in the video you'll see why. So with that, on with the video. Hey guys, and welcome back to the BS Society. So finally, I want to talk about Ganyu. I mean, she's not one of the more recent controversies, but as you know, Tectone in the past when Ganyu came out did call her a support DPS. And the community kind of got mad at him because he called her a support DPS. But in actuality, he was the one that was correct. She is a support DPS. And I will get to the reason why. But first, let's study her kit real quick, okay? So normal attack is really nothing. Her charge attack is really good because when you get to the level 2 charge, basically she fires a shot, it hits an enemy or whatever target, and then basically breaks up into multiple arrows and deals an AoE cryo damage, okay? Now, basically the extra arrows get a 20% buff into crit rate for 5 seconds, which is really nice, or at least that's how I'm reading this, right? Because that's what these arrows are right here. And the arrow blooms after hitting its target and deals AoE cryo damage, and that basically gets a 20% crit rate. Now, I think this is the reason why people call her a DPS and not a support. But here's the thing. A single skill or a single talent doesn't define a character's kit. You have to look at her other two abilities, okay? Now, this ability is basically kind of like another Baron Bunny, but instead of Ganyu throwing it, she basically puts it out into the field and then backs up. Now, this little object does AoE cryo damage consistently, and enemies get taunted to the object, okay? And when the duration ends or it gets destroyed, it explodes, and its endurance is based off of Ganyu's HP, just like Baron Bunny, okay? Now, this ability is kind of like Amber's ultimate with a little bit of a combination of Bennett's ultimate, because what it does is it provides a bonus, okay, based off of this ability. It provides a bonus 20% cryo damage to any active members in the AoE. This would include Ganyu, okay? And then the ability will also rain down ice shards, dealing AoE, or not AoE, but, basically any enemy within the area of effect would basically be dealt cryo damage by these ice shards falling, okay? So basically what it means is Ganyu is able to provide constant cryo damage, on the field. She's able to provide constant cryo damage and provides a cryo damage AoE buff, right? Which, this is what makes her a support DPS. To go on further with this, all of her abilities stay out no matter if she's on the field or not, okay? Not only that, but Ganyu's ultimate lasts 15 seconds and her cooldown is also 15 seconds, okay? Now, this thing doesn't really stay out that much, but basically what it means is that the way you're kind of supposed to use Ganyu is basically use her ultimate, put this out, switch characters, so that way these other characters, like maybe Raiden Shogun, well, not Raiden Shogun, but like, let's see, maybe like Eula or, like any other physical damage units can get that additional 20% cryo buff. Not only that, but because it's additional cryo damage, cryo damage from this, and especially from this ability right here, what that basically means is that you're able to synergize off of cryo damage. So you can do melting, you can do freezing, you can do, superconduct. You can basically do all of that. And Ganyu will basically consistently apply these abilities even when she's off the field. It's kind of similar to Kaya. Okay, the way I use Kaya is with his ultimate, right? This one. When you use this ultimate, you basically get like those 3 ice shards that just circle around your character. The way I like to use him is either use like Lumine to basically consistently provide like the swirl damage, or even use a unit like Lisa where I can basically just sit there right next to the enemy target and just constantly apply superconduct, right? And basically get that cryo, that extra damage off of the elemental reactions. So I use Kaya as more of a support DPS, not a DPS. Okay? Going back to my point is that Ganyu is a support DPS because of these 2 abilities right here. Okay? And you should be building her based off of a support DPS. Right? And again, this is another scenario of you have to look at your characters and understand how they work in their entirety. Just because Ganyu has this ability and this ability doesn't make her a straight up DPS. Okay? You have to look at these 2 abilities right here, which is why Tectone called her a support DPS. Especially after miHoYo buffed this ability. Because when Ganyu originally was in beta, they made this ability a duration of 10 seconds. But now they increased it up to 15 seconds, kind of similar to what miHoYo did for Dark World Jonin. Which basically means Ganyu can have this ability out almost all the time, which means you need energy recharge, especially since her ability costs a decent amount of energy. Okay? And where can you get this extra energy from? This first ability, so while you're charging her stuff, you can use this ability, and then throw out this ability, and guess what? The enemies are already attracted to your characters. So you can switch to a melee character like Eula, Diluc, because Diluc can basically get that extra cryo damage reaction. He can deal that melt reaction along with additional physical damage that can synergize, both of them can synergize off of this extra cryo damage bonus. And guess what? All of the enemies are attracted to him, so you don't have to worry about placing this out. Now, I would say Ganyu is another character that's probably really good for co-op instead of solo. Because in co-op, you can take advantage of this ability while Ganyu's other abilities are active. So you can deploy this, and then use this ability to get the most out of her while everybody else is taking advantage of this ability. Right? If you're playing solo, you basically just use these 2 abilities, and then you might use this one while she's charging her stuff up. There again, you can also use Raiden Shogun to also help charge her abilities, just like you would with Beto. So again, understand your characters before you make an initial judgment on them. You can't, the whole point of all of these videos is you can't just use the characters. Okay? Even for MMOs and stuff, you have to look at what your abilities actually do so that way you can use them to the best of your abilities. Okay? You can't just use a character, much like you would just use a weapon in Call of Duty. You have to understand their intricate details and how they actually work before you can make the most out of them. And this is something that I'm going to get into when I'm done talking about all these controversies, surrounding the characters. And basically, just because you think a character works a certain way doesn't really make it so. Okay? And I think I'm going to include Vinci on this video as well. Now, he won't be in the title, but, when you're using his ultimate, yes, it sucks up enemies, but that doesn't make him just a support unit. He's a support DPS because he's dealing massive damage. So whether you can suck up enemies or not isn't what determines whether he's useless or not. Okay? And that's what caused the whole issue with that co-op video the other day. Okay? Anyways, I think I've said my point. I don't think there's really any more controversial characters I need to cover, not until they come out. I do know Sora, or whatever the hell her name is. Her. I haven't looked at her kit yet to really determine why she's useless. Honestly, when I did her trial version, I really didn't like using her. But she might be another one that I might look into. But I would say before I do that, I'm going to let all the videos that I have recorded release. Because pretty much I have all my videos recorded all the way back to the grievances video, and they're still not released yet. Because I'm kind of just going to put them up all at once. You know, and before I do that, I want to make sure the next video is okay. And I want to make sure the audio for these videos are okay before I go to release them. So, that's the deal. With that being said, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.
What have you done? I saw that! Those poor ducks! It was for the pigeons. Go away! I never want to see you again! Ever! I'm telling Mommy!